Welcome to Starlight Reads fanfiction for you. This fanfiction is titled I'm Just a Freak, Hybrid Immortal Fox Fanfiction. This is Immortal HD and Sly Foxhound. If you do not like yaoi, please leave now. I do not want hate in my comments. Now, without further ado, let's begin. He whimpered silently as he felt another kick hit his rib, and another, and another. He looked up from the floor he was currently being abused on and at his aggressor, his adoptive father. As he was daring him to go further, he felt another kick to his face, and he sucked in a breath to keep him from crying out in pain. "Don't look at me, freak," his father started, kicking his stomach. "That'll teach you not to talk back," the abuser said, walking out of the room. Alex gathered all of his strength and lifted his body and collapsed back down when his arms gave out. He sighed and tried again, this time succeeding. He used the wall for support and slowly walked along the sides of the room to get to his bed. He plopped down, his legs not having enough energy to stand anymore. He felt a few tears slide down his cheeks and gripped the nearest pillow tightly, hugging it like a scared child would. Why was he forced to suffer this way? His whole life had been an utter living hell, ever since he was born. His mother died while giving birth to him, and his father's heart gave out when he was merely 1.5. After that, he got moved from foster home until he was adopted by an old man when he was 5. He found it really odd. Why would a man who could die any day take him instead of resting like any other elder? But when he was sent to a strange building a day after his adoption, he understood. The old man had sold him like a worthless object. He sold him to an illegal laboratory. It was filled with psychopathic scientists, smart psychopaths, but psychopaths nonetheless. He was the only human besides them there. The rest of the captured living creatures were all wild animals, and for 6 years, that's how he was treated, like an animal. They would study him, inject him with needles, perform tests, and throw his food and water as if he was going to kill anyone who entered his minuscule cage. It wasn't much. What they provided him with, a simple piece of bread and a half water bottle a day. Heck, even the animals got better than him. He was even forced to sleep on the hard floor, and with the loud noises of the beast in the cages next to his, who makes sleep was rare. He hated it there. Who wouldn't? He felt as if he was there for no reason. All they did was inject stuff that would give him side effects instead of actual positive result. Until on cursed day when a new scientist appeared for his daily injection. He didn't know what it was supposed to do. As usual, they kept it confidential, and he didn't pay much attention to it. He was sure it wouldn't work anyways. Nothing happened for months, but one day, the police discovered the illegal laboratory and released him. Well, sent him to his next stage of hell. He was taken to another foster home. A happy couple had taken him, enrolled him in school even, but before he knew it, they split up, leaving him with an angered adoptive father. And eventually, anger led to alcohol, and alcohol to verbal abuse, and from that, physical abuse. It only got worse then. 2 years ago, the injection worked. On his head there were a pair of dog ears, and a fluffy dog tail on his lower back. They weren't artificial, they weren't removable, they were utterly attached to his body. He didn't want his father to know. That would give him a bigger reason to abuse him, and he did not want that. So he kept it in secret for as long as he could. Until he was 16, he walked into his room silently as not to awaken the drunken beast, but forgot to lock the door when he usually did. When dinner time came up, the barely sober man went up to order him to make him his meal. Of course, without knocking, since nothing was covering his dog parts. He saw and became furious, immediately starting a session of abuse, calling him things like freak and mistake. Alex didn't bother explaining. His father wouldn't listen anyway. So he took the beatings every day until this very day. The next day, they moved from their small apartment in Massachusetts to a slightly bigger one in Denver, Colorado. What made things even better is that tomorrow would be his first day in a new school. A new school he'd have to be extra careful not to reveal his secret. Alex rid his cheeks of the last tears running down them, and hiccuped his last sob. If there was one thing he could guarantee was that his life he had never experienced happiness, nor did he expect to anytime soon. Whew. Chapter 2. A New Day, a New School. He woke up groggily at the familiar voice of his father yelling at him downstairs. "Hey, freak, time to make me breakfast." "Coming, sir." That's what his father made him address him as. Well, he could also have the choice of calling him master, but honestly, he preferred the first choice. He scratched the back of his dog ear and yawned, stretching his limbs until he heard a satisfying cracking noise. He rushed to get his clothes from the closet, picking a blue beanie, a simple t-shirt, hoodie, and a pair of sweatpants. He always wore baggy clothes to ensure that his tail couldn't be seen when he stuffed it into his pants or his shirt. He walked into the only bathroom in the apartment, towel in hand, and took a 2-minute shower. He stepped out, careful not to slip, and started drying himself off, making sure not to miss his ear or tail. He looked at himself in the mirror and cringed. His body was covered in bruises and scars. On his face there was a noticeable black eye. He had to hide it for the entire day. Great. He rapidly put on his clothes and brushed his teeth, stuffing his tail up his shirt and covering his ears as much as he could with his hat. He quickly made his way downstairs, trying best to stay quiet. His drunken father hated noise during his hangover, as any normal person would. He almost made it until he tripped on the last step, making him drop to the ground with a loud thud. He started to panic when he heard the door open and footsteps approaching him, getting louder by the second. Before he could try to get up, he felt a strong hand grip his hidden ear and pull him from the floor. He whimpered as he was thrown to the wall, immediately sliding down it. Normally, Alex would try to fight. This week, his abuser had been particularly rough with him, leaving him with barely any untouched body parts. Over time, he had gotten used to the daily beatings, so he was able to do many tasks with little strength. He felt a strong kick to his stomach, cutting off his breathing. He hugged his stomach and put his head between his knees. He curled into a small ball on the floor. "I said no noise in the morning." "What kind of dumbass are you? You can't even understand a simple rule." "Worthless. Now make me breakfast." He heard the sound of fading footsteps as he gasped desperately for air. He did what he could to catch his breath, and got up to make breakfast. He cursed under his breath as he painfully reached for all the ingredients he needed. He started cooking eggs and bacon for himself as well for his abusive father. He served the alcoholic man's plate and silently made his way up the few stairs that led to the small second floor, and cautiously knocked on the door and waited. "Come in." He slowly opened the door and saw the violent man on his bed watching TV, half a beer in his hand. He took another gulp before he spoke. "Bring it." He walked to the bed and placed the plate in the man's hands and started walking out the door. He sighed in relief as he heard no complaint from the man's mouth. No complaint meant no extra beating session. He closed the door and walked down the stairs to eat his own meal. He ate his meal in peace, finding comfort in the rare silence. He finished and put it in the sink with the other dishes. He would wash them when he got back. He looked at the time, 6:47 in the morning, more or less 10 minutes before the school bus arrived at a stop. He put on his running shoes and walked out the door, backpack leaning on one of his aching shoulders. He marched up to the stop, reluctantly, sighing as he imagined what his first day would be like. He imagined just as his old school was, filled with bullies and stuck-up girls. If he wasn't getting hit at home, he was getting humiliated at school. The worst part was, since he was too shy to make any friends, he had no one to help him. He arrived at the bus stop and was surprised and relieved to see no other teen there. He at least would get peace before leaving and going to school. He moved his fluffy dog tail around, trying to put it in a more comfortable position. Hiding his animal parts was a pain, so much that he would always be cramped after an average day of hiding them. Moments later, he saw a usual school bus turn the corner, and remembering his black eye, he fixed his hair and pulled up his hood as to mask the best he could. "Finally," he muttered, already getting impatient at a day's slow pace so far. The bus stopped in front of him, and the bus driver opened the doors. He stepped on, muttering a quick hello to the man in the driver's seat. He scanned around the bus for an empty seat, feeling everyone's gaze on him. He walked back where he spotted the only empty seat left before the back row. He sat down, making himself comfortable. Noticing that there was silence, still the only thing being heard, he coughed as to subtly tell everyone to shut their mouths and keep talking. Everyone returned to their idle chit-chat except for the group behind him, whose stare he could still feel burning in the back of his skull. He stared out the window, trying to ignore the irritating feeling of people staring at him. He heard a sudden voice from behind him. "Hey, you're the new kid, right?" He turned to the kid behind him, not caring if they saw his full face. He had taken time to check on his phone's reflection if his black eye was mostly covered, which it was. "Yeah, that's me." "Hi, we're the creatures." "What's a creature?" he questioned, unfamiliar to this term. "We're a group of friends who record commentaries and skits and upload them to YouTube," the guy in the red baseball cap explained. "Oh, cool." He looked at all of them one by one. Behind him was the guy in a red baseball cap, and next to him was another guy in a Batman shirt with a camera, a microphone strapped across his body, who was conversing with the people beside him. Whew! Beside the two was a guy with a red hoodie with an odd logo on it. It said Z Royal Viking written in a stylish font in the bottom. The one beside him was a teen with a noticeably growing beard and a black t-shirt. "Are you a girl?" written visibly in white in the middle. And finally, there were the people in the seat next to his. A blonde, skinny teen, leaning tiredly on one shoulder of the one with the Cookie Monster beanie on his head, both gazing lovingly into each other's eyes. "What's with them?" he asked the one with the red hat. He shrugged. "They're together." "Oh." Alex sighed in relief. Although he never told his dad he was bisexual, though knowing that these potential friends accepted them was comforting. "Oh yeah, I should introduce you," the guy proposed. "I'm Jordan or Kutra. This guy is Dan. The two over there are Spoon and Z. The two next to you are James and Seamus. And then there's... Hello, guys." Chapter 3. Eddie. "Hey guys," a cheery voice interrupted. "And that's Sly," Jordan finished before taking part in Dan and Spoon's conversation. He turned to see a Hispanic-looking teen with jet black spiky hair eagerly skipping to the back of the bus. Almost tripping on his own feet, he wore a purple t-shirt with a slime on it, one from a popular game he couldn't remember the name of. He also wore a lime green beanie on the top of his head, and black sweatpants. He had a beard and glasses on his face, along with the biggest smile he's ever seen. He turned to the window, looking at the passing houses until he felt a light tap on his shoulder. He turned to see Eddie looking at him happily. "Hey, mind if I sit there?" No, go ahead," he assured, placing his backpack on his knees to give him more room. Sly sat down next to him. "You're the new kid, right?" Yeah, that's me. What's your name?" "Alexander, but Alex is preferred," he explained, extending out his hand to Sly. The teen grabbed his hand and shook it. "Edwin Cardona, Jr., but you can call me Eddie or Sly." "Why Sly?" "It's a shortened version of my YouTube name, Sly Foxhound. Since it's so long, my homies just call me Sly." Alex lifted one of his eyebrows in confusion. "What's a homie?" "That's what I call my fan base." "Oh," he uttered, blushing lightly in embarrassment. He must sound really stupid now for asking what everything was. Eddie giggled. "I like you, Alex." "You're not so bad yourself." Alex snickered, nudging him. So where are you from? Russia. Really? Cool. I'm from Puerto Rico. And that's how the rest of the bus ride went. Alex and Eddie questioned each other back and forth, Alex occasionally asking for explanations on certain terms he did not know. It wasn't his fault, he just hadn't the luxury of using the internet in such a long time. Before his adoptive father knew his secret, the very night he found out, he broke his laptop in rage, and hadn't had the chance to go on the internet since. The bus finally arrived to its final destination, and students started to leave the vehicle and enter the hell known as high school. He walked off and went to the secretary's office to get his schedule. He waited until the lady in the counter finished her phone call and knocked on the already open door to get her attention. Oh, hello. Who might you be? I'm the new student. I'm here to get my schedule. Of course, Alexander, right? He nodded. Call me Alex. Okay, Alex, give me a minute so I can print out your classes for you. He waited a few moments until a piece of paper was handed to him. Here you go. Better hurry if you don't want to be late to your first class. Thank you. Have a nice day, he said, walking out of the door and into the hallway. First, he'd have to find his locker. Locker number 212. He jogged across the corridor until he spied his new locker. He unlocked the lock with the code mark next to his locker number and placed all his books quickly, arms still throbbing from the morning. He took out the books he needed from his first period, math. Lucky enough, it wasn't too far from where he already was. He managed to enter class the second before the first bell rang. His eyes searched for any familiar people on the bus, any of the creatures. Sadly, there weren't any of them there. He slowly made his way back to the teacher's desk, handing her his schedule as proof he was indeed the new student. Oh, you must be Alex. Please, introduce yourself, the woman in her late 30s ushered, gesturing for him to go in front of the whole class. He gulped and slowly made his way there, turning to face his staring classmates. His tail twitched slightly because of his nervousness. Hi, my name is Alex. I'm from Russia, and, nice to meet you? He hated when his shyness made him socially awkward. It made him look like a fool. His teacher blinked. Okay, you can take your seat in the back corner, the one on your left. He nodded and sat down in the corner of the class. Next to him was an empty seat, so he could only wonder who it belonged to. Okay, class, the brown-haired one walked to the board behind her, grabbing a piece of chalk. Suddenly, a familiar teen ran into the room, out of breath. Sorry I'm late, Miss Matthews. She sighed. It's fine. Take your seat, Mr. Cardona. Please don't make this a regular thing. Don't worry. It's just a one-time thing, he reassured, taking his seat in the empty desk next to him. Smiling once, he noticed Alex. He gave him a small thumbs up and turned his attention to the speaking instructor. Time had passed by slowly during the morning, but Alex was slightly relieved that he had his first and third period with Eddie, his second one with Jordan and James. Since they were in English together, he and Eddie walked to the cafeteria together and chatted as they waited in the cafeteria line. Once they both got their lunch, he brought their trays to the table the creatures were sitting at. Hey guys, Sly exclaimed as they sat next to each other. Hey Sly, they chorused, everyone except Eddie, James, and Jordan, whispering something like, Who is he? Didn't you guys listen when I introduced you on the bus? Kucher asked, not sounding the least bit impressed. Nope, they all admitted at the same time, popping the P. Eddie giggled. This is Alex, the new kid. Hi, he greeted nervously, waving a little. They greeted him back, gleefully, as he received a light nudge from his new Latino friend. You're too cute, Alex, he giggled, his cheeks a light shade of red. Alex felt his face warm up, as well at the compliment, as well as his tail wag a little. He stopped once he realized what he was doing, looked around to see if anyone noticed. He sighed in relief as he assured himself that no one saw, muttering a small thanks to the teen who complimented him. Alex? Yeah? Are you listening? No, sorry, he admitted, bracing himself for a slap of a That was usually what he got when he didn't listen. When he didn't get one, he opened his eyes. Slowly all the creatures looked at him with confused faces. Sorry. Anyways, Z trailed off. We asked if you wanted to go to the creature house tonight. You know, maybe sleep over since it's Friday. I'll have to ask my dad first. Sure, just tell us if you're in or not on the bus, Spoon informed. Yeah, I'll do that. And that's it for now. Please abuse that like button if you want more. The story will be in the description below, and I will see you next time.